Hello there. This is all just Tory spin, isn't it? As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. Now this might sound beguiling, but it just does not add up for me. Surely the press and the Tory government don't think our memories are that short, do they? The Sun and the Times are running with a story about the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, preparing to cut taxes over the next couple of years. And what's being talked about is cutting income tax by 2p in the pound. On top of that, the Times says that the 45p additional rate for those on over £150,000 a year could be scrapped. And inheritance tax could also see a bit shaved off of it as well. Then there's the reduced VAT for green energy. And with the next planned general election taking place in 2024, then Rishi will want to get all this in train early so as to go into those elections with a nice warm glow saying, "Look how nice I am to you." Then there's his own personal ambitions regarding number 10 to consider. But over the last few budgets, Sunak has frozen the tax thresholds until 2026, so keeping more lower-paid people in the tax zone as wages go up, and getting medium earners more quickly into the higher rate tax bracket, as well as imposing this brand new social care levy on workers, starting in April with paying another 1.25% on national insurance contributions. And all of this, according to the pundits, hits the lower earners more than the higher paid and those that earn their money through doing things like renting houses out, you know, MPs and their London houses. And now we hear that the top rate of income tax could go, which benefits those at the top. And decreasing the tax rates by 2p in the pound would mean the more you earn, the more tax you don't pay. And who would benefit the most from an inheritance tax reduction? On top of all that, the mega wealthy are now disproportionately protected against having to sell their houses to fund their elderly care. My question is, how much money will this trickle up into the higher earners' bank accounts? Yes, trickle up is a real thing. Wealth trickled down is an illusion put out there by the mega wealthy to convince you to let them fill their boots. And just to give you an idea, here's what The Guardian recently reported. There are 171 billionaires in the UK, 24 more than a year ago, according to an annual ranking compiled by the Sunday Times. It was the highest number in the 33 years of the newspaper's rich list, as the combined wealth of billionaires in Britain grew by more than 1/5. Now tell me when the trickle down starts on that lot. And I wonder how many more mere millionaires have also been made. Now I'm not saying it's bad to be successful, it's generally a very good thing. But we don't need the tax playing field to be skewed heavily in their direction to amplify their wealth, do we? We need a proper level playing field of low taxes for all. So instead of doing all this, why not go back on the social care levy by reducing it or scrapping it, and also raise the tax thresholds before looking at lowering the other rates of tax? That way the poorer benefit as well. But no, it looks to me like both of the taxman's hands will be busy, one taking from the poor and the other giving to to the rich. Anyway, I want to go back to this social care levy. The main thing here was to stop people having to sell their homes to fund their care, and they would therefore be able to leave their homes to their children or to whomever they wanted. But the way the system is now set up means that people will have to sell their homes to pay for their care, if they are at the lower end of the wealth bracket, that is, because they still have to pay the hotel costs, like for food. The cost of the actual care is capped, but not the associated living costs, which can be eye-wateringly expensive. But when asked about this in PMQs by Keir Starmer a few weeks ago, Boris Johnson went into bluster and blather mode. Something he does when it gets a bit sticky, and only answered using half-completed sentences. And the only message that came out of all of that was that people's homes are not factored in when paying these care home costs. But what also slipped out was that applied while they lived in them, and also that the costs would only be extracted from the house value after they had died. I take that to mean that while the person needing care is alive, the house is safe. Once they're gone, then the state will swoop in. And that means the heirs get nothing, or very little, just like before. Now, I'm no expert in tax, but this whole evolving tax package sounds to me like a way of filling the coffers of those living safely behind the blue walls, while fleecing those that live behind the recently breached red walls and pulling the resulting wool over their eyes. And then there's all that Tory sleaze I've talked about before. Although, to be fair, that seems to be fairly evenly spread across the whole political spectrum where politicians are concerned. But I definitely do not like the look of this emerging tax setup. Why do I get the feeling that the ordinary person on the street struggling to get by is going to be footing the bill? Now, the EU Commission is not happy with some of its member states. So what's going on? But before I get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. Now, a few of the happy, contented and united EU 27 member states have been privately setting up deals amongst themselves. Deals that the EU Commission is worried undermine its authority, because these deals are bilateral in nature and do not involve the whole single market. These little deals are called intra-EU bilateral investment treaties, or BITs. And back in 2020, the EU decided that they had to be shut down as they are incompatible with EU law. But some of those engaged in these nefarious treaty-breaching activities have been slow to respond to the Eurocrat demands, and Brussels has issued them with a warning. The EU Commission said in a statement, "The EU Commission has decided to open infringement proceedings against Austria, Sweden, Belgium, Luxembourg, Portugal, Romania and Italy for failing to effectively remove from their legal orders the intra-EU bilateral investment treaties to which they are contracting parties, so that they cease to produce any legal effects. It has been the Commission's long-standing position that bits between EU member states constitute a parallel treaty system, overlapping and conflicting with Union law, thereby preventing its full application." Now, many of those involved had taken some action to deal with this issue, but Brussels did not like the remaining uncertainty and has been swift to chide those so-called sovereign nations. Every law and every rule and every dot on every I and every cross on every T must originate within the Brussels bureaucratic machine and be obeyed. But the question must be asked, why would an EU member state within that utopian political paradise possibly want or need to forge a bilateral agreement with one of its fellow member states? After all, it has a whole temple in Brussels set up for that very task. And anything that does not emerge from the bowels of the Brussels temple is deemed as blasphemous and must be hunted down and destroyed. The only bilateral agreements that are acceptable are the 27 that keep them tied together. So what's your opinion on Tory tax plans? Please like and comment below.